Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. If you've never seen me before, my name is Jack. I have been a professional video editor for the past 6 or so years, and I make videos for fun and professionally, mainly for motorsports riders. But today I'm going to tell the quiet parts out loud. The stuff that you learn at 2 AM when you're trying to put that perfect video together and you're on export number 12. I'll share the pain, but also the systems that keep me sane. That rhymes. Let's get into it. Everyone sees the final cuts of videos, but no one sees the 30 hours that went into that 3-minute video. The late nights aren't a badge of honor, they're a production management problem. The truth is, edits expand to fill the time you allow. So each edit, if you allow it for 30 hours, it will take 30 hours. But that could also be because good sound design doubles your timeline length, which might not sound like it makes sense, but really, if you think about it, it kind of does. More because that's what fills a lot of the time. I spend hours and hours on sound design, especially for client projects, that it just kind of doubles and it gets longer, and the time to edit takes a lot longer than the time to actually plan out the project. But you can do some quick fixes for this. You can time box and put a countdown on your phone to then say, right, I'm going to spend this amount of time on this one project. Because really in a day, when you're building a client base, you should be spending half of your day editing client projects and the other half getting new clients in. You can also do something like a decision matrix. 1 pass for structure, 1 pass for story, 1 pass for sound, 1 pass for polish, and then ship it off to the client. Wait for the amendments and then make them as and when they come in. Obviously, with amendments, you should probably have some sort of structure in place. So clients have, say, 3 amendments. Before then, it goes to hourly billing and you're charging them by the hour of how long the amendment takes. And another quick fix for this, schedule your rendering for projects when you're going to have a meal or you need to nip to the shops, because it's quite good to kind of stick it on. You don't have to think about it till you get home and you can sit down and go, right, this is exported, move it into the folder. Editing isn't infinite. You know, you need to scope your passes. You know, we've all heard the same thing. We only need a few shots, which in translation is sun up to sundown, plus load in and out. You're the first in and the first out. You know, you are the person to put that project together, and if that is the case and you're spending 14-hour short days doing a project or just filming a project, this can come from a few things. You know, the pain points being the company moves take time, so do charging batteries, media swaps, so changing your SD cards over, and resets. You know, if there's a shot that needs to be retaken. Obviously, I don't find that very often, purely because I work in motorsports, so you really only have that split second to get the shot. You don't really have the choice of going, right, we'll run that back, we'll do that again. I know I harp on about it, but the time when he crashed the bike at Donington Park, you know, I couldn't really say to him, do you mind fixing the bike again? Do you mind just taking that out and I can reshoot that, I can shoot that better? I didn't have the opportunity. You know, the client wants one more angle. Obviously, all of this really depends on the type of projects you're shooting. You know, if you're shooting for corporate events, then yes, they're going to be saying stuff like this. You shoot for motorsports events and motorsport riders, drivers, riders, the name's interchangeable, then it doesn't really work like that. And the last pain point is, when are you going to eat? You know, for me, I have to think about when I'm going to take my medication, because as I said before, I'm epileptic, so I have to keep on top of that. So if there's someone that's wanting a shoot done from 8 AM till 8 PM, I need to think, okay, well, I need to take my pill at 8 and at 7 PM. Those times are going to have to be free. I can't be shooting the second I get out of the car and start at 8. It only takes me a couple of seconds to have it, but there's still the things that I have to think about, and then I can't get too fatigued because I'm sleep epileptic. I've gone into the wrong business here. I'm working that out in my mind. No, I'm joking. You know, I can deal with it. I just have to remember to keep on top of myself and get my sleep, and, you know, if I need to have a quick nap in the day, I'll take the time when I need to and when I can, really. But there's some quick fixes for the pain points I've just said. So you can set a hard wrap time. This can go into either the call sheet or the morning brief when you're talking to all the production team. Obviously for me, if I did a morning brief, I would be talking to myself. So, you know, I'd sound schizophrenic. I probably sound a bit schizophrenic when I'm doing these videos. However, that is not the point. But you can block shots by location, so if there's a few locations near each other, just do it around there, and then you do move on to the next bit. And avoid whole production company moves. Obviously for me, it's not really an issue. This is more for big companies and more for kind of productions that require a big team, whereas the ones that I do kind of require me, a camera, editing, the mics. It all fits in, I'll show you. All my stuff fits in this bag, which if you ever wanted to know is the Lowepro Whistler BP 350 AW2. I love this bag. I've chucked it about so many times and it still looks brand new. I've taken it snowboarding, I've taken it Donington Park, Darley Moor twice, Cadwell Park, quite a few places. I can't remember where else. It's a good bag. If you're wanting a bag and you want to do one payout, get that. You can fit probably 3 or 4 bodies in there and then 2 or 3 lenses that can go with them. But obviously I have the one lens and the one camera that I take with me. Other than my GoPro, I take places. At the moment, my GoPro case is currently being used as a storage case. I will also take my G7X if I'm gonna kind of record little vlogs. I might start doing vlogs for places that I go to. I might vlog Italy, as that it will be an exciting trip. I obviously take my DJI mics, SD cards, you know, with the Shacklemore Productions SD card case. I'm trying to think what else. There's not much else that I actually take with me. I'll probably end up taking like my mouse and my keyboard with me, but you know, I've gone on a bit of a tangent here about gear. But they're the things that you kind of have to think about when you're moving different locations. Another thing you can do is bring a kind of checklist of all the kit that you have, so that then when you wrap up and you kind of want to check off if you've got everything. I have sort of a mental checklist. I kind of write a checklist in my notes and will tick it all off when I'm packing it the night before. If I leave anything, then I'll sort it as and when, but I've not left anything so far. That's a bit of a tangent on like gear and what I do, but I'm hoping all of this kind of absorbs into your brain and has some sort of resonance with you. If you've ever heard this sentence, you will know the pain and the dread that comes with it. Can you just change the music? Changing the music isn't just swapping a song, it's retiming the whole story beats, transitions, sound design, and sometimes it means that you have to sort all your licensing out because they want a copyrighted song. And for me, I just don't have the money to copyright a big name song. They're like, oh, can we use this? No, we can't. It's copyrighted. Stop. But the reason that this is such a painful sentence is because the rhythm defines the edits. To change the rhythm of the song is to almost rebuild the edit in full. I had this a lot with property videos. I would do it to a specific song. They would say, can we change the music? And then I would spend about 3 hours re-editing the video because nothing was to the beats of that song. And it was very painful. Very painful, which meant that those amendments in the morning would then push back the edits in the afternoon. It would be an absolute pain and I would be sat there editing till 8 o'clock at night when I finish at 5. It wasn't the most fun, I must admit, but at least I got to do it from home. But if you're dealing with copyrighted music, then this can be a legal issue as well, because a new track means a new license and client liability, and it's just, that's a process. One that I must admit I don't really have much experience in, but it is a process. I only use copyrighted music if I know it's going on Instagram, just purely because I know that Instagram's sound library will sort the copyright for it and it's not something that is going to be a problem. Now, a fix for this can be to bake the music lock-in by version 1. You know, so if they want a different song, then they have to tell you on the first round of amendments. So then when you get to version 6, say, there's no change in music at that point, and it ruins all the amendments before that because it's going to be a whole different nightmare. But just put that in the contract. You know, I've never had a problem with it. I've worked quite collaboratively with clients and people that I've worked with. It's not really been a problem for me personally, but I understand the pain. So when you're building your own company, just kind of put it in the contract and just say, look, this is how we roll, this is how we do it. Obviously don't go into client meetings going, you know, this is how we roll, my guy. Also, maybe when you're doing client portals, have a section for music suggestions. So then at that point, you have a pre-cleared mini playlist in pre-production, and it's all just signed off by the client to kind of keep them happy. After the music lock I've just mentioned, then have a charge for a re-tempo. So if they change the music to a different tempo, that comes at a price. Now this is something I've touched on before, but unlimited revisions means unlimited burnout, and we don't want burnout. Most notes are valid, volume isn't, unless it is like blaring out of your headphones even when you've got it on 1 dot, then yeah, that is a problem. But on the whole, it isn't. I mean, the worst one to hear is vague notes such as, make it pop. What does that mean? I've heard that a lot, especially with property. It happens, you know, you will get that. And then at that point, you have to ask them to clarify, and you go through a whole process. It's not a fun time, but I think that is sort of a rite of passage for every production company. You also have things like conflicting stakeholders. This can be the client is a company that has multiple people running it, and they have all different opinions. At that point, I would say make sure to tell them to collaborate in-house and then send amendments over, and then you have that as a one-er rather than getting 5 different people saying, no, I want this, and then I want this, then I want this, then I want this. That's just not going to work. It doesn't work, and I know it doesn't work because I keep harping on about property, but it happens. It really does happen. And also, this really annoys me, right? Feedback by WhatsApp or voice notes at midnight, 1 a.m, 2 a.m, 3 a.m. It's not going to get sorted at that time. Keep it within work hours. I will do it for you as long as it's within the contracted amendments, and if it's not, then that's when we talk about hourly charging and we go through all of that process. But that, please do not message me at midnight. Obviously, if you're in another time zone to the person that you're doing the video for, then yeah, I can understand. Midnight might be their midday, so that makes sense. But when you're in the same time zone, you can't be having that. You can't be. Now, some of the fixes for this is, like I've said before, you have 2 rounds of amendments or 3 rounds of amendments. For us, it's 3 rounds, but that just keeps it down to a minimum, and you've not got people going, oh, I want this, and then you've got 5 different emails coming in at the same time. It's not fun. But then again, you could kind of put that all together, class it as 1 amendment, but please don't. Save yourself some time. Don't. Use something like a time-coded review tool. Now, I don't have this, but you can use something like frame.io, Whipster, and Vimeo Review. You can also assign a single point of contact. I don't have this. I just kind of, I do everything through WeTransfer, so, you know, if they then pick something apart and go, actually, I want this changing, they can just look at the timestamp on their screen. And require consolidated notes per round. Like I said before, if you've got multiple people that are going to be coming back to you with amendments, get them to collaborate in-house and then send them over. Card management, backups, proxies, deliverables. None of it is sexy. You know, you see all these things on Instagram, TikTok, none of it's sexy, and all of it can ruin you if you skip it. Now for me, I have a dual recording camera, so I have 2 SD card slots in the FX30. Now what I will do is I will get it to record simultaneously. I do this more so that there is already a backup in the camera. I can take one SD card out, use that as the main SD card, transfer it all to the folder that is going to be the main folder for that project, and then after that, I'll take the other SD card out, like this one. I had to take this out before recording this video, and this will get cleared. This purely is just to keep on top of them backups. Potentially what I could do is put the folders on this SD card onto something like a Lacy hard drive, plug that in and automatically make a backup folder on there. So then on the SSD, there's ways to go around it. Personally, I just clear that SD card. It's more just in case the SD that I'm using is corrupted or you can't really do much with it, but they're brand new SD cards, so I would hope not. touch wood. On set, you can do backups. Personally, I offer this as an extra service just because it will take up time for filming, obviously sorting the SD cards out, then sorting the folder out. It's a process that I charge for personally. It's not a very big charge, but it is just an added extra, because otherwise I'll just do it in either the car on the way home if I'm getting a lift, or I'll do it when I get back to my house, hotel, whatever, just because that's just the way that I do it. You might not do the same. Or if you have enough storage or space, then you can do a 3-2-1 backup rule. Now that's 3 copies, 2 media types and 1 offsite. I personally don't. I have my SSD project folder, and then what I will do is I will have a Lacy hard drive project folder. Now projects that are 2 months old will then get put onto the Lacy hard drive, and then after 4 months it gets deleted. This is just to clear space for future projects and future things, because you never know when you're going to need space. In fact, I am at a point where I need to get more Lacys and SSDs because I've got so many project folders. I'm having to back up even YouTube videos at this point because it's just getting so big. Now you can also color code project folders. I don't. What I do is I will have SM dash and then where it's filmed. So for Lewis's project, I had SM dash Lewis Paddock day 1, Lewis Paddock day 2, Lewis on track, paddock, general. You know, I label the project folders to the kind of standard that I think I need, because obviously it's just me working on any projects, but if there's other people, then it can be done that way, if that makes sense. Now, if you hate bad audio more than you hate bad video, then all I have to say is congratulations. You are a professional. Traffic noise, reverb, any background noise of anything, humming from lights, I mean, they are the biggest pain points of my life with noise. I'll be honest, I messed up on one of the videos that I've ever shot for a client, and it was a race report video, and the mics didn't sync properly. So when I went to record it, there was all of the track noise in the background. Now, I did my best to salvage it. I was able to ever so slightly, but it still wasn't the best, and I felt so embarrassed. In fact, I thought he was going to ask me to take that off the invoice. Lav rustle is also a massive issue. Clipping is another issue. Luckily, I don't find that a problem in what I do, but that's because everything is set up by me, sorted by me, so I make sure for these not to be a problem. Obviously, if I get more people on and get to a point where I have a team under me and they start doing that, then we're gonna have problems. Now, there are a number of fixes for this. You can have furniture blankets, rubber mounts, different covers for things. These can kind of take that background noise down a little bit. Always roll a safety track at -10 decibels. I think a lot of video production, and especially for people who are doing their video production company from the start, you will encounter these. I think I will encounter these at some point. I'm not ruling them out. Just have contingencies, budget for stuff going wrong, because say my camera broke or my DJI mics broke, or you know, something broke. I am currently in a position where I couldn't replace them, and that would be a problem, and that would be something that we then have to work out, and how are they going to be protected and covered. You can do this by having insurance on your gear. I think if I worked it out, I'd probably have about 5 grand's worth of gear. Yeah, give or take. But the next thing that I will mention is your laptop looks great, but does your clients? Who's right on the color spectrum? Now, uncalibrated displays, viewing environment, and platform compression can all be a factor into color and screens lying. So if you've done a perfect color grade and then you send it off to the client and they go, what is this? Then you could be at fault, they could be at fault, you never know. What I like to do is I like to airdrop any video that I'm about to send off onto my phone. Now, this might also give a false display, but I can see a lot of changes that need to be made while watching on my phone. And I feel like my phone gives me a different perspective on the color grade that I've chosen. Or I will watch it on my girlfriend's phone. And now the reason I do this is because she is colorblind to, I think, light blues and stuff like that. So she has a filter on her phone essentially. So if it still looks good on that, then I'm onto a winner. That's kind of the way that I do it, but you can also calibrate reference displays, deliver sRGB friendly video versions for the web, add a viewing guide PDF with recommended brightness and player for clients, and like I say, test exports on a phone or a cheap monitor before sending. Now, you've heard the phrase, the best camera is the one that you have with you. And that is true, but can you carry it for 10 hours? That is the real question here. You're gonna have to have batteries, a monitor, plates, rigging, if you use that. I use a tripod and my hand. Rain plans, you know, have you got a cover for your camera, or is it water resistant? Is it going to be allowed to be within the rain, within the water? You know, this is where you can standardize your battery systems. Personally, for me, going in the future, I don't know if I'll get a V-mount battery. I want to get a V-mount battery and rig the whole camera out. However, when I was filming at Donington Park, I was able to do 1 day, well, 1.5 days on one battery. Now, people might say you're not recording enough, you're not doing enough, but I was recording every race pretty much without stopping, a lot of behind the scenes footage, and you know, I did a lot of recording. So for me, I don't know if it was really going to be needed for something like that, but say I'm doing a potential project that I might be doing next year, then potentially I will need a V-mount battery, because it'd be filming 4 days. So media day, FP1, FP2, FP3, race, all of that. You can use something like color tape as well. You know, if you're on a production with multiple video producers or with multiple cameras, you can have battery tape to kind of tell them whose camera is what. And this is from when I play airsoft, but I use this blue tape that, you know, if I need to, I'll stick it on there. That is why it's on this. You can see it a bit better there. You can also separate batteries that have charge and have been used as well. I like to have my used batteries somewhere specific, and then have the ones that are up next to be used in a different location. Obviously, that's within the pouches in my bag, so you know, that's usually where the SD cards go. That's where the top handle goes. Mics will go in here. Batteries usually just go in this top pocket here. You've got SD card holding slots. I've actually got a 20p in there, and then my camera just sits in here. But I can fit my drone, my GoPro stuff with my drone controller. I've got my ND filters down there, and then I've got my Peak Design clip in here, just because I like to go hiking and take my camera with me, and it fits on my strap. That's it. With rain kits, you can get rain hoods for cameras. You can get all sorts of different options. Maybe have an umbrella over the camera, maybe use a bin bag. There's so many options out there. That's personal preference, in my opinion, of what you're gonna take with you. But the reality is, being creative is half business and the other half pays for your coffee. So for deposits, it's 50% to lock in the dates. No deposit, no hold on any of the dates. You know, if they're saying I want to shoot from the 3rd of November to the 20th of November, if they haven't paid 50% before, I would say a week before, then they don't get that date. You know, fill that calendar as much as you want to, because they haven't paid. Also, you don't want any scope creep. So you want to put the deliverables, the run times, the aspect ratios, all in writing. Send it to the client. Make sure they're happy with it. Get them to sign off on what you have put down. Kill fees. Now, these are for if a client decides to cancel within 72 hours of the production being done. Say they've booked on the 3rd and they cancel on the 2nd, there's going to be a fee for that, because your business still has to run. You still have to be able to make money, and if you're not making productions, you aren't going to make money. So how do you combat that? If they cancel late, they pay for that late fee. It's as simple as that. Now, day rates versus project rates. I charge project rates. I have set things that I offer, and I will charge per package. I have 3 packages that can all be mix and matched really. The top package doesn't really need anything added to it because it includes pretty much everything, and that is the final cost. The middle package has a little bit less in it, and then the basic package is literally basic. Like I say, the basic package can be added to with stuff from the other 2 packages, and there is extra stuff that can be added onto the premium package, purely because, you know, not everything can be included in that for the price that I'm charging. It's up to you whether you want to charge day rates or whether you want to do project rates. It depends on the niche and the field that you are filming for. Obviously, for me, it's always going to be over a couple of days, if not about 5 days, and then you've got editing time, and then you've got any amendment time. So, but really, video production is hard, and it's worth it when you set up some rules. So if this has saved you an all-nighter, drop your biggest pain point down below. I've linked plenty of editing assets in the description. I've linked to Google Sheets so that you can send me your productions and I will react to them in a coming video. I need one more edit. I've been stressing this. I need one more edit. I've got 4. I need 5 to make a full video, and then I can break it down and we'll do a long video for you, maybe 20-30 minutes long potentially. We'll see. And subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to hear more from me and my mouth and my Bonds tattoo for more video production stuff and behind the scenes. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.